Munson Tonight is made possible by the generous support of Field Foundation of Illinois and generous Chicagoans like you.
Season of Munson Tonight, where politics makes sense. Well, most of the time. Thank you, Justin, for that
You're
clap.
so welcome.
I am Ashley Munson, your host. Clap for me. And who you heard a second ago was my chief of staff, none other than Justin James.
Hello.
And the still unnamed, no name band. Let's clap for them. How you guys doing?
Good. I like this Rhythm Nation thing you got.
Thank you. They said I'm either marching to war or making money, so
nice.
I'll go with the money side. Yesterday we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy. Let's clap for that. Now, I know Dr. King had big dreams, but I'm pretty sure one of them wasn't seeing felons make it to the White House. But I digress. As you can see, a lot has happened since the last time we were together. I mean, a lot. So let's talk about it. Well, first, Kamala Harris told us we weren't going back, and then we did. We absolutely did. We didn't learn our lesson from the first time, and so here we are. And guess what else? What else hasn't changed? Our president is still a white guy, which is fine, but he's still old, still senile, and just slightly more orange than the last time. That's right, we've reached the end of the end of the Biden-Harris administration. In his final months as president, Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, just in time for the Christmas holiday. Talk about a gift. Not only did he pardon his son for his latest conviction, but also for any crimes he may have committed in the last 10 years. I don't know about y'all, but that is love. That is love. I wouldn't even forgive my ex for liking homegirl's picture on Instagram that time, but we're not talking about me. Biden didn't stop there, y'all. He also commuted the sentences of about 2,500 non-violent offenders. Not in that group, can y'all guess it? President Donald Trump. Because meanwhile, Trump is like, I'm commuting to Greenland. Can we have a real conversation about how Trump is treating countries like monopoly properties? I'll take Boardwalk, I'll take Park Place, and oh yeah, all of Canada. I mean, if we are playing Monopoly, can we send him directly to jail and skip pass and go?
Yes.
Is that a possibility? Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, let's clap for that. Let's clap for that. Trump, when asked about annexing Canada, said he would use economic force because, you know, subtlety is the thing. And he called the U.S.-Canada border an artificially drawn line. I can't make this up, y'all. He said that. Now, if Trump did take Canada, dream with me, no Dr. King pun here, but what would he rename it? Justin, you got any thoughts?
New Germany.
New Germany.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's more interesting than, okay, we'll go with it.
Or Orange County.
That's good thinking. That's good thinking. I was thinking about like Great White north of Mar-a-Lago or Elon Island.
Yeah.
No?
I like
too
it.
much. Okay, well, we'll go back to the drawing board. Trump even suggested renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because according to him, it's always been ours, folks. Everyone knows it. Tremendous Gulf, the greatest Gulf. You know, it's the Gulf. I'm gonna work on my chunk accent because we got 4 more years of this. But even Hillary Clinton laughed at that one yesterday. More on the inauguration a little bit later. But as you can see, 2024 and the beginning of this year have been wild AF. I'm just waiting for the season finale of Earth. Like, do the aliens come next, or we gotta figure that out. While we joke as a coping mechanism, it does feel like this is the final season. So I want to take a moment to talk about something serious happening in Los Angeles. The wildfires in Southern California have been absolutely devastating. Thousands of homes have been lost and so many people have had to evacuate. It's just heartbreaking. Altadena, a historically Black community that's been this beautiful, thriving haven in LA, has been hit hard too. It's tough to see such an important piece of LA's history go through this. Our hearts and our prayers, and most importantly, all the help we can muster out must go to all of those affected in LA. LA, we're with you. Let's work together to bring back peace and hope to your incredible city. Let's clap for those folks. Now, switching gears a little bit, we lost a true American legend right before the new year. Yep, Jimmy Carter, our country's 39th president, passed away at the incredible age of 100. I honestly think he just had to get out of here before Trump got in office, but Jimmy Carter was the longest living president in U.S. history. Justin, what was the extra chuckle for?
I'm sorry, continue.
You had something inappropriate to say? Okay, back to the script. At his funeral, it was a reunion of all the presidents, the living ones at least, because they wouldn't be dead. Why would they be dead? Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. They were all there. It was like the Avengers of politics. But think about it. Does that make Trump Thanos? Thank y'all. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. But there was one notable absence. One. And you could see it on George W.'s face. It looked like he came to the family function and he realized his favorite cousin wasn't at the barbecue. That's right, Michelle Obama. I think she's just over it, y'all. She's done her time. She's done with the polite handshakes and all the fake smiles. She's like, you know what? When they go low, I don't show. Or maybe she didn't go to the inauguration because she heard there wouldn't be any kale chips. You get it? Because she passed healthy kids initiatives for healthy food for kids. No, I wrote that joke. That should have been better. Never mind. But I do want to address that folks were acting like her not showing up to the inauguration was a scandal. Meanwhile, Trump didn't go to Biden's. But why aren't people asking the important questions? Like, didn't Donald Trump's wife skip the whole presidential campaign? I mean, she did look like a smooth criminal yesterday. We should actually talk about that. Anyway, yesterday the Trump inauguration was the Trump inauguration. Let's clap for that. Okay, maybe not. But as you saw, for those who watched, the inauguration ceremony was held inside because of cold weather. But don't tell me that Republicans are afraid of a few snowflakes. Isn't that what they call liberals? Snowflakes? Okay, I didn't write that joke, but you see what I did?
I saw what you did.
You saw what I did there?
What you did.
Thank you. His inaugural speech was shorter than his rant afterwards to fans and supporters. He actually, and I mean this, y'all, actually spent 20 minutes talking about the wall he wants to build. What a world we live in now. Trump also had a lot of special appearances. Even Snoop Dogg performed at Trump's crypto ball. Hear me out though, I don't have any excuse for Nelly performing, but what if Snoop Dogg was way too high to know he was actually performing for Trump? Like hear me, like what if he thought it was the crypt, like the crypto ball? Get it, Crips in LA? Sorry, was that the song? I can't really crip ball. Continuing on with the inauguration, our country's first co-president, Elon Musk, was there, and he was at the Trump's presidential parade, where he ended his speech with a Roman salute, aka the common greeting of the Nazis. I literally can't make this up either. Musk, the world's richest now, possibly most racist man, is expected to play a major role in the Trump administration as one of the heads of the department that will become the Department of Government Efficiency. This controversial new department claims it will be tasked with slashing employees and spending at federal agencies. Now, many see this as Trump and his ultra-rich allies looking to gut the government agencies for their own gain. But right now, their relationship looks like a weird MAGA Hallmark romance. So we got to keep this in mind. Trump often falls out with his frenemies, like it's a season of VH1's Basketball Wives. I mean, there was Steve Bannon, remember Omarosa, and his own VP, Michael Pence. So we'll see, but I'll give it a year max before Elon and Trump break up. Now, it's important that we have to pay our respects. And love and memory of our good sister, Tikiana Toxin. On Saturday night, TikTok, the app we all love and definitely spend too much time on, was shut down in the United States. After the Supreme Court, this music is dumb, unanimously upheld a law requiring ByteDance, the China-based parent company, to sell its ownership or face a total ban. According to the court's opinion, TikTok posed a national security risk because of its susceptibility to foreign adversary control and all the sensitive data it collects, as if Amazon can't tell me what I did on Instagram already. An estimated 170 million Americans use TikTok, y'all, and for perspective, that's more than the entire population of Mother Russia, Mexico, that was good, wasn't it? Mexico or Japan. Many users calling themselves TikTok refugees. Why? We're taking their talents to two other Chinese-owned apps called Red Note and Lemonade. It's like Americans are saying, I'm just here for the dances. You can take my data collection at any time. Maybe China should just shut down its southern border. But on Sunday, they went to the tomb and the rock was rolled away. So they went inside the tomb and TikTok was not there. TikTok had risen. I am so sorry, Jesus, for this joke. Now, this wasn't the second coming that I was really waiting for, but I guess it'll have to do for now because TikTok is back for at least 75 days. So let's clap for that. They could only keep a real baddie down for a few hours, but she's back now along with my saved cat videos and recipes that I'll probably never make. Since then, the world seems a little bit more culpable. And because of that, because the world is more culpable, we are now in a ceasefire. Let's clap for that. The agreement ends roughly 15 months of war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. The deal, which took effect on Sunday, would see a pause in fighting in Gaza and lead to the phased release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Maybe the Middle East will see lasting peace and embrace a new era. We can only hope so, right? And despite the political debates on who is responsible for this ceasefire coming to pass, I would like to say thanks, Joe. You didn't do everything perfectly right, but you did your elderly best. And for that, we're grateful. Because let's face it, no one gets this job literally weighs on you. The weight of this world sits on your desk every day, and all we see are the headlines. I even heard President Joe Biden was walking around with a box of Sharpies on his last day, signing everything just in case President Trump rolled back 82 of his executive orders, because he actually did that. So President Joe, I hope history treats you kinder than we did. I have a phone call to take. 1 second, guys. Joe, you did it, Joe. You did it. I know you didn't win, but you did everything else, so you did it. That is the end of this script. Guys, thank you for being here. Are you ready for the show? We have special guest, Alderman Desmond Yancy. Let's clap for him. And a few of my peers and friends to have a kitchen table convo. Are you guys ready to join in? Yeah. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm financial expert Tamara Durbin, inviting you to join me each week for In the Money, the show that makes money management approachable and enjoyable. Join the conversation at 7 p.m. exclusively on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
I'm Andy Zopp, the host of Chicago Newsroom 2.0. Every week, we gather for insightful conversations with local journalists and community leaders as we discuss the news of the day and how it impacts the lives of Chicagoans. Join the conversation on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN-TV Plus app. Hyperlocal news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
Hi, I'm Robin Robinson, inviting you to tune in to the new CAN-TV original program, In Other News. Each week, I will break down newsworthy topics that traditional outlets may ignore, grounded in truth, fun, and blackness, from the trap house to the White House, with the big house in between. Join the conversation on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN-TV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
CAN-TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN-TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN-TV On Demand.
Welcome back to Munson Tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're thrilled to welcome a guest who's not only a dynamic leader, but also a true voice for his community. As the alderman of Chicago's 5th Ward, he's dedicated to addressing social justice, housing equity, and community development, while fostering a vision for a brighter future. From his grassroots activism to his leadership in public office, he's a shining example of how passion and persistence can drive change. Please give a warm welcome to Alderman Desmond Yancy. How are you, Alderman?
I am great. How are you?
You know, we're here living the dream, right?
Yeah.
I saw you last week in, was that Springfield?
Yep.
Yeah, so Springfield, that's when they start the session. They inaugurated the new state reps and state senators, and they had a lot of receptions and parties, and basically all the black leaders, elected officials came down to Springfield. It was good to see you. Before we get started, I want to shout out to you. When we were down there, you gave me some really good advice. I won't share with the audience everything, but it was basically get over yourself, as I tell some of my friends. So I appreciate that advice being circled back, and I'll probably have to deal with that pushback after the show. But tell the viewers and those in the audience about your ward and how you got to where you are today.
All right, so I represent the 5th Ward, South Lakefront communities of Hyde Park, South Shore, Woodlawn, and Greater Grand Crossing. Rough cut from 73rd and Yates to 47th and Lake Park. Roughly Cottage Grove, full University of Chicago campus, and kind of gets this crazy Lego Tetris thing once you get up in there. But what I love about those communities is South Shore in particular, which is where my home is one of the last sort of like historic black lakefront parcels in the country. And we've got the 5th Ward, we've got 3 beaches, 2 yacht clubs, 3 harbors, 2 golf courts, partridge and a pear tree. So it's just this like beautiful, beautiful space of like blackness. The way I ended up becoming an alderman, I grew up in the 8th Ward right near CVS High School. Ended up going to school at Kenwood, and that Jeffrey 6 bus route took me through these neighborhoods, and I got to see a lot of what our city was at that time. My best friend lived in Jackson Park Highlands, so I got a chance to see, black excellence, but then, the other side of Jeffrey, it's a very different experience. Mm-hmm. So I started wondering at a pretty early age about what my role was going to be and trying to figure out how we have a society that benefits all of us. And I remember being about like 8 years old, telling my mom I wanted to save people, and she thought I was crazy. About 15, 16 years ago, I became a labor and community organizer. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time working in neighborhoods all across the city, mostly organizing black people into unions. And whether it's South Side, West Side, you can talk Inglewood, Wild Hundreds, Austin, and Garfield Park. Give it up for the Wild Hundreds, right? Those issues that exist across all those communities. And 2015, just like most folks, I was angered by the release of the video of the murder of Laquan McDonald. And in 2016, I co-founded a group called the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability, where our goal was, in honor of Dr. King, to create a civilian oversight body for the Chicago Police Department. Many folks don't know that when he came to Chicago in the 60s, they talk about the Poor People's Campaign, but what was missed was often how we talked about how this was more racism that he experienced in Chicago than he did in the Jim Crow South. And a lot of that was centered around our police department. So 2021, in kind of the heat of the pandemic, joined with another coalition, and we were able to create a civilian oversight body for the Chicago Police Department and the district councils, which are elected, grassroots, on-the-ground folks who can help create a better relationship between the community and the police while centering public safety as a public right and making sure that we democratized our public safety system.
That's a lot. Thank you for all you have done to this point. Yeah, let's clap for that. Before I hop into some of the questions I sent over to you, how do you think your background in activism and organizing plays a role in you being alderman now?
A huge role in that, perspective is everything. And if you live a life that only introduces you to sort of like your limited scope, then it's really hard to be an advocate for other folks. I'm the youngest of 5 boys.
Oh, wow.
And
no girls at all?
No girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, youngest of 5 boys. I have a twin brother who's 7 minutes older.
You have a twin?
He thinks it's 7 years, but that's, if you're a twin, you know how this works. And I've been voiceless, right? I didn't graduate from college, so I've been underemployed, I've been marginalized, I've kind of gone through all those things. And all that gives me a perspective that when I look at the policies that have been enacted by our leaders, when I look at the role of government in taking care of its most least fortunate folks, they miss the mark a lot. Yeah. And so being able to take the perspective let me think. In organizing child care workers, right? So for many of us, we think about our own costs when it comes to child care, right? It's going to cost you $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month for one child to go to child care. But when you think about the people who are caring for these children, what kind of money are they making, right? Those folks also need child care. And they can't afford the $1,200 a month. And then we've got this crazy system where, let's say you're receiving government assistance for child care. You got an all right job, gives you enough, and then you get a 50-cent raise, and you go through a redetermination process, and now this 50-cent raise that you got says you make too much money to qualify for the subsidy, and so now you're up for the full cost of childcare.
Yikes.
It's just not right. So to be able to advocate and fight for folks understanding how this system works against them is absolutely giving me a perspective that I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I can see that. I think first question I have for you, talk about missing the mark, and you talk about education and how it's important. Let's talk about what's happening at Chicago Public Schools. Can you give folks and viewers an overview of what are the headlines they've been seeing and what's kind of happening inside? Yeah,
it's a mess.
Yeah, okay.
We've got this really interesting moment where, for the first time in almost 40 years, we have an elected-ish representative school board. Mayor Daley in the late 80s, I think early 90s, sort of removed that democracy from people. We've got an unpopular by the mayor, CEO of our public school system, and then we've got a mayor who is tied to not just the teachers union, but is also a former teacher. And so all these things have created a conundrum in understanding where we are in this moment. So for starters, it is not unusual for a mayor to fire the CEO of public schools and bring in his own person. And then to even contextualize this further, Mayor Lightfoot, towards the end of her term, gave CEO Martinez a deal that extended past her own life cycle. So it's created this challenge. Me personally, I would have gotten rid of, if I was going to get rid of CEO Martinez, I would have done it at a time where it would have been far less disruptive for our young people, right? And then we've also got this, contract that the teachers are negotiating right now which, by many estimations is going to be a pretty significant bite on the city budget. And then you've got a mayor who some feel is a conflict that he's negotiating on both sides of this fight. So, at the end of it, we've got young people who are being hurt by this. Yeah. We've got to still figure out what a funding structure is that provides equity with our Chicago public schools. And then we also need confidence. I don't think there are a lot of people that are confident in the direction that not only our schools are going, but also the leadership who are directing the schools.
Yeah, I think when I think about all the, maybe infighting, but just the headlines and everything that's happening, who is suffering at the cost of all of this? And I think about CPS students. So from your perspective, how do we ensure funding goes to CPS? And I guess B would be with the current state federally where we are and the tension between maybe, immigration and all that stuff happening, but with the tension with federal government and state government, do we get funding from the federal government for education, or how would that work in your opinion?
Yeah, we do get funding from the federal government, but what's a challenge is, the current president's push to what he calls defund DEI. Yeah. And, DEI is a bad word for them. For the rest of us, it just means we all get a shot and kind of get access to what we need and what we deserve. And with his, at least intention to reduce funding for programs that support DEI, and this means us talking about Black history in schools. We just celebrated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King just a couple days ago. Also in Illinois, we honor Muhammad Ali on that same day. Mm-hmm. And, we're going into Black History Month in just about a week or so. To be able to have those conversations with young people about folks that look like them or folks that don't, but true American stories, to be able to remove that from, our children's future is dangerous. Yeah. So it's really important that we figure out how we fight against that, and it's still unknown what the impact of that potential funding deficit is going to be. We have newly elected representatives representing our interests. There are 2 folks per district. By all means, do your homework. I mentioned democracy. Democracy is ugly and it is painful at times, but it's the only way that we have to be able to make sure our perspective is heard. There are a number of folks who just like aldermen, campaign on bringing something different to our public schools. We have to make sure that those folks are held accountable. And whether you have children in public schools, live in a neighborhood with a public school, have family members who teach in public schools, it is, well within your purview to find out what is going on and how you can impact that.
That's good stuff. So we're ending the segment, but one thing that I started the show on is civics, educating on what is an alderman, what are these elected officials, and actually what do they do? So with 60 seconds left, how would you tell us to prepare for the next 4 years, not federally, on a local level?
Drink bourbon.
Well,
when the work is done. But no, it is really about organizing. We thought we weren't going to survive 2016 to 2020. We did. My dad probably didn't think he was going to survive Nixon, right? Mm-hmm. But it is, this prime opportunity in this moment to make sure that we are talking with our neighbors about the work that needs to be done, that we are having these conversations. We had some lighthearted conversations today, but it's also making sure that we're really getting in the weeds about how we can impact the problems that exist in this city. Because, Black folks in Chicago represent 30%, 33% roughly of the electorate. But when you look at who actually shows up to vote, it's a much more different story. And so when we see laws that are enacted that don't affect us positively, it is because of that. So I say roll your sleeves up, bringing back a phrase from 2000, stay woke, right? Mm-hmm. And just make sure that we're not letting nothing slide.
Let's clap for our Alderman Desmond Yancy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
All right.
Thank you. We got to take a picture.
I'm Darius Hillman, inviting you to join me for the Chicago Noir, the news magazine that highlights and showcases the African American experience in the Windy City. Tune in each month on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. Join me Mondays at 7 p.m. as I sit in conversation with incredible, dynamic, and complex Chicagoans who peel back the layers, living lessons, the joy, and the pain behind their confident smiles. Join the conversation Mondays at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CAN-TV Plus app.
I'm Ricky Watson, and I'm inviting you to join me for the new CAN-TV original program, Critical Conversations. Each month, I'll share space with special guests who, like you and me, are on their journey of self-discovery and deeper understanding. Join the conversation on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org, or on the CAN-TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
CAN-TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN-TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN-TV On Demand.
Welcome back. Before we get started, No Name Band, do we have a name yet?
I thought we were good with
No Name? Okay, we'll work on it for this season. Tonight, we're joined by 3 change makers who are reshaping their communities and inspiring us all to think bigger. Ariel, Rainey, founder and CEO of Hustle Mommies, is a passionate advocate for empowerment and education, working tirelessly to create opportunities for the mothers and the next generation of leaders. Jonathan Mcgee, Senior Consultant of Economic Development and Community Advisory at Baker Tilly US, is a visionary strategist and community leader, driving innovation and progress through economic empowerment and equitable development. And Dion Dawson, the founder of Dion's Chicago Dream, has turned his mission for food security into a life-changing movement that's providing fresh, healthy food to those who need it the most. Together, they're showing us what it means to lead with purpose and impact. Please welcome Ariel, Rainey, Jonathan Mcgee, and Dion Dawson. Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going on?
Hello.
I have one question. It's gonna start with Jonathan. Is that a Gucci suit? Y'all, Jonathan is one of my fancy friends. So
Yep.
Those are Gucci glasses though, yeah?
No, they're not.
Oh, Fendi, I'm sorry. I'm glad.
They're community glasses.
Community glasses. Good answer.
You're a visionary.
He is a visionary. He has to see. Get that too.
Yes.
Super glad to have you guys here. For those watching, I think it's important more than ever that we have real conversations, especially at the climate. I mean, we should have been having real conversations, and I think some of us do in our own different circuits. But especially now what's happening, and you guys are in your own different fields, trailblazing and doing the work. But I wanted to have a chance to have a conversation on TV where people can see like what are we talking about and how we actually do the work. So I want to start with a icebreaker, if you will. How are we feeling about the inauguration? Like it's day 2 maybe of Trump being in office, and feel free to share your thoughts in no particular order.
Oh, it's about me. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I'm mad I want a 21-day detox because I can't have wine because it has been very rough. You know, I do a lot of work in the gun violence space, and the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, where I will be in D.C. all the time, they're getting work and resources, and we're able to bring moms to the White House to speak their truth here from Chicago. It's gone.
No.
And, you know, when you look at all those executive orders, a lot of them include partners and people that I've met with who've built these entities that are really champion for our communities. So I cried a little bit today, if I could be honest, because I'm like, geez, like, in a blink of an eye, things have changed, and it's impacting the moms in the communities that I serve. But it also made me feel a little bit nuck if you buckish, because now that means I just gotta put on my bandana and get to work.
Bandana is crazy.
Yeah,
That is hilarious.
I hear you.
very Inglewood.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
So I think it's a lot of uncertainty, and obviously when any administration, right, Republican or Democrat, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty and a lot of shifts. So I think we're all kind of, waiting with bated breath on what's going to happen. However, I do want to underscore what Alderman Yancy and what Ashley talked about. State, local, and county government has a larger impact on your everyday life. That does not mean that the federal government won't have an impact, but if we spend the next 4 years not necessarily thinking about what we can do and control at the federal level, and think about how we dig in a little bit more at the local level, I think we'll see a lot more results. So, I want to kind of give you guys some things to think about. There's two phrases that I have: awareness and preparedness, right? So if you want to think about currently, how do I become more aware of how these federal actions are impacting us? For example, an executive order versus legislation versus a judicial opinion. Then how do you also educate yourself? So being aware is knowing it happened, but then I got something else called ETA, right? Education, translation, activation. So then educating yourself about what the executive order is, getting someone like Ashley, right, to translate what that actually means for you, and then activating yourself, right, around that issue and figuring out what that means. And that's where the preparedness come in. So ETA, if you think about, that's where you get to your arrival destination. If you follow those steps, then you'll be ready to go. So that's kind of my thoughts.
That's good stuff.
I also have, two.
Here we go. Here we go.
Two sayings. The card is bigger. No, I'm joking. I feel like I normally feel. I feel like I have to do something in spite of something. So I think I've never had optimal conditions to do what I do. And in the last 24 hours, we've seen a Nazi salute. So it's about on par with how crazy we thought it would be. But from a leadership standpoint, I'm appreciating what this kind of requires of me. So I think I'm understanding that, okay, too much is given, much is required. And I think that I don't ever want to get too comfortable with relying on what I've done, because we have so many people who are really exposed and really don't know what tomorrow will look like. So I try to hold space there. But I mean, it's up and down. I'm not gonna act like it doesn't bother me, because it does. But I mean, between our team, the people we serve, other leaders, I also know the role that I play. And beyond the comic relief, I have a lot of people who look to me, so I'm trying to take in a lot of information, because I'm learning a lot too. You know what I mean? I think you either learn from touching the stove or somebody telling you not to touch the stove. Right. And it seems like collectively we touch the stove. And so, of course, I want to, hold space and be present, because however we feel we're entitled to. But I love getting active. You know what I mean? I think there's a certain responsibility that for me and of me that, okay, this is here, what am I gonna do? Because this is what I said my dream was, this is what I said I wanted to do, so it's time to do it.
I love that. You highlight something, I'm not gonna repeat it verbatim, but like we're doing the work. We've been doing the work. And for those who are new to this space, these three individuals I admire from afar. And afar, I just mean I'm not in the same world all the time with them, but I really appreciate all the things that you guys do in the community in different ways, right? Economic development, food, hustle mommies, helping mothers across the globe get what they need. And so if we hone in on the Chicago level, what the hell is happening in Chicago, y'all? and what are we as leaders doing about it? I mean, we could talk about CPS, we could talk about immigration, we could talk about funding, equitable neighborhoods, and all the things. But I think to bring in the audience and those viewers watching, like, what is happening in Chicago?
I think the theme that I see, I always tell people, me being a comms guy, that's my background, you'd be surprised at how many issues is really a communications issue. So I think a lot of this is a very, very big communications issue, but I think it's also a lack of accountability. I think that we look up, and as leaders, we really love to say why things are the way they are without including ourselves. You know what I mean? I think if I am a leader of this generation, I have to acknowledge that some of this is my fault. You know what I mean? Whether it's directly or indirectly. And I just think that if you look at Chicago, I mean, we could point to every part of the city of something being wrong. But I think that the biggest thing is when something is going on, we don't communicate. When we know what's about to happen, we don't communicate. And then afterwards, the only communication is blame. And so after that, it's like, okay, then you add in, county issues and federal issues and lack of identity and, you know what I mean, like shorter budgets and lack of jobs and lack of resources and critical needs. And it just creates this mess of like not really knowing what to focus on, especially for us, making sure that we represent the people that we represent and make sure that we can understand what their problems are on a day-to-day level and make sure that they're represented. But I just think it's a lot of miscommunication and a lot of lack of accountability.
So you got lack of accountability and lack of communication.
Absolutely.
What about you, Jonathan?
I think it's a lot of institutions trying to be everything for everybody. So we can start with education. Let's just be clear. Chicago Public Schools can't be a mental health agency. It can't be an economic development agency. It's meant to teach and educate kids. And so I want to leave you guys with things that you can do to improve your current state of your community schools, right? So let's just talk about it. There's a lot of community schools that are great, but we think about when our parents went to them. So when he talks about messaging, do we really know what strides that school has made? Are we involved in our local school council, which is responsible for setting the budget, firing or hiring the principal, and doing evaluations, right? So these are small things that you can do when it comes to education. Now, when you start thinking about what Dion talked about, which is why don't we have resources? Well, a lot of that comes down to how much investment has happened in my community. You have strong communities, you have strong schools. You have, strong community benefits, opportunities for folks that live there to buy and stay there. Then you have a more robust and diverse community. And so when it comes to economic development, it's this big word that folks throw around, but it's everything from your small business corridor to major corporate expansion. And so again, when you think about what are things that I can do to improve the economic, vitality of my community, well, going back to what I told you, educate yourself around what's the state's plan for the state, what's the city's plan for the city. And if they don't got one, then we should probably talk to some of our local electeds and figure out what it is, right? And so,
Jonathan, can I stop you there? What does that look like? Am I knocking on my elected official's office? Am I going to Springfield? Like, I hear you honing in on like, what are the actionable items that we can do? Like, what does that look like in your opinion?
So really quick, because I want to turn over to Ariel. So one, looking on just the government website and looking for the economic development plan or whatever long-term plan they have for quality of life. So just look at those words, economic development strategies, quality of life. So look at that. And then once you've read it and you're trying to figure out what this looks like for me, reaching out to your local elected alderman, signing up for their newsletter, signing up for your state reps newsletter and your county commissioner's newsletter, as well as anything else there. And so then that way, at least you're now informing yourself, and then you're going to have questions from there that, of course, local officials or others can answer.
Good stuff.
So for me, I think the main issue is that there's so much ego and a lack of us wanting to work together in so many spaces. You have to be in oftentimes certain cliques and things of that nature, and it really divides us. And we're already a segregated city. So when you have different groups that have groups within the group and people have different agendas, instead of us coming together as one, it really impacts the progress that we can make together. But just like Dion said, it's difficult to do that when there's lack of accountability that's on the ground, because even if you look at Black Chicago, where's the Black middle class that happened in South Shore where Yancy is at? You look over there, I can't believe this is the same South Shore that I have friends who grew up there, and I saw Black doctors and lawyers and executives living there. That's like a lost art. And so we have to ask ourselves these questions. What happened? What happened to our communities, and why are we not working together? And I think that is a big issue. Dion do a great job at getting all of us together to work together to really figure out how we can do that. when he not trying to crack a joke, okay, and giving his speech. But I think that it's super important for us to understand that we have to drop the ego, and if we really care about our communities and our people, we have to put the people first and not our agendas and who's doing it first and who's looking good on social media. And I think that Chicago really has that issue all across the board, across every neighborhood.
I want to get to the critical investments and public funding piece, but you bring up a really good point that I have been trying to crack the code on. How do we solve the problem in Black Chicago? So let me put this in terms, right? She made a point, and maybe this is a bomb waiting to explode, but I just feel like there are so many, we're all millennials, right? Yes. There are so many Black successful folks in Chicago, y'all. And I know this is probably in a lot of major cities and even some small towns, but the people that we connect with and that we know alone our net worth, like, are smart, capable individuals. But to Dion's point, we don't communicate. So what's the solution? Do we have a Illuminati style meeting where we just put everything on the table? Maybe not Illuminati, but y'all get
I'm about to say, I call it the Lord.
Like a secret meeting where we talk about all the issues and hash it out, or like, my point is, how, before we can talk about critical investments and economic development, you talk about there are people that are siloed. How do we fix that as the next generation's leaders? Because I think we're on the tip of missing it.
Well, I think what we have to do is we have to understand the importance of our personal ethos and what we believe in. And so, you know, for me, for example, with our organization, we've never recorded a single volunteer hour. And I'm sure the production staff just told me I got to wrap it up. I got you. And so with that, I'm hyped, just fixated on creating jobs because they're necessary. And so, you know, even before going to the group, I understand that in 10 years, if I have 10 awards and didn't create 10 jobs as a businessman, then I did not do my part. You know what I mean? And I think that in private conversations, when I'm talking to other leaders, I'm making sure I'm sharing that. And so when you talk about, you know, the Black leaders, those who, you know, are affluent, I think that there's a certain commitment of, you know, understanding, like John Rogers, I had a conversation with him, and I just want to share this real quick. I said, how can I help you? Right? Because, you know, of course, a lot of people want to meet him and ask for money.
We'll have to hold that conversation for after break. We'll be right back after this break.
That was Justin. Come here. Get the gloves.
Hi, I'm financial expert Tamara Durbin, inviting you to join me each week for In the Money, the show that makes money management approachable and enjoyable. Join the conversation at 7 p.m. exclusively on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
Hi, I'm Robin Robinson, inviting you to tune in to the new CAN TV original program, In Other News. Each week, I will break down newsworthy topics that traditional outlets may ignore, grounded in truth, fun, and Blackness, from the trap house to the White House, with the big house in between. Join the conversation on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
He's gonna get on, but he's gonna switch it to like public investment and stuff, like how we
Okay,
get to that.
and then I can answer that.
Before the break and Dion got cut off, we were talking about ways how we can work better together. So I want to kick it back over to Dion so he can finish his speech there. Go ahead, bud.
I don't want to say it no more. And also I got to say hi to my son Bryson, who's up past his bedtime. I have to do it.
Hi, Bryson. Hey, Crystal.
So it was a story, something I keep close. It was a conversation I was having with John Rogers. And anytime I talk to anybody else, I always ask them, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I just force myself to say it because we don't hear it enough. And a lot of people, you know, try to meet with them, try to ask, you know, for money or a donation or something like that. And I remember him saying, you know, a lot of people ask for money but never ask about our funds. You know what I mean? And I think that when we think about working together and thinking about the importance of investment and the importance of job creation, the importance of wealth building vehicles, these are things that if we're going to say we're leaders, that we cannot just push off to tomorrow. And so, even though, I work in food and nutrition and logistics, if I see some other leaders talk about something, I just ask questions, you know what I mean? And we've even had dialogue where you're like, well, no, that's not how that works. And even though I tell you I disagree with you, I'm writing it down, you know what I mean? And so I just think that the importance of investment, the importance of not just, working together, but also, spending together.
Yeah.
Making sure we're paying what we need to pay, making sure we're earning what we need to earn, making sure, because there's a gap right now when you talk about those high-level C-suite jobs, throughout Chicago, and whenever there's an opening, the same 4 or 5 names come up. You know what I mean? But that's because they haven't seen growth in those, mid-level or lower level, smaller, small business under $250,000, between that and $5 million. They haven't seen any growth, or you manage a staff or something like that, or a budget like that. So I just think that if we really want to connect everybody, we really need to be way more intentional about having the hard conversations about money, about revenue, about different models, about different products, because your product or your program is going to save you. It has to be premium to last out. So
for sure. Jonathan, anything to add?
So I think, kind of transitioning one to what we talked about in terms of Black Chicago and what we can do. I think Black folks aren't a monolith. It's a spectrum, right? And I think that one, we have to think about our history and how that prepares us for the future. And we've got to start to be able to have critical and crucial conversations and disagree without being disagreeable, right? I think that we're in a time where, if somebody voted a certain way, if they feel a certain way, they get shut down, whether that's on social media, whether that's in person. I think about our conversations over Thanksgiving and Christmas and how contentious those were. And so I would just say that we have to call people in with love and not call them out. So that's one. But then I think also going back to specifically what can we do to invest in our communities, empower our communities. There's 3 different types of tools that I just want to make sure you all are aware of, right? So whether you're a nonprofit, a private company, a utility, a government, a public-private partnership, which is essentially a coalition of private companies and nonprofits and other stakeholders who say we're going to come together for the good of the community and invest collectively, such as what's happening with the Obama Foundation and the collectives that are happening there. There's 3 tools that you can use. You've got what you call a tax incentive or a tax credit, which many of us maybe just know about a tax credit if we file our taxes. And for example, we got kids, we got a child care tax credit. Well, that's cool, but there's actually tax credits that you can use to fund investments, right? And so we got to be very careful about how we say, for example, well, corporations or private sector folks are the boogeyman. While yes, they can always make decisions that impact their bottom line, many times they make funding decisions that impact our communities. So we'll leave that there. The second tool is grants, right? Which we all love. Everybody want a grant, right? But if everybody could get a grant, then everybody would have funding. And we know that, funding is limited. So I just, you want to think about what are the mix of tools that I can use. And then last but not least, a loan. Now, most folks are like, I don't want no loan, I don't want no more debt. But you get a loan that's below market interest rates, or you get something called a participating loan from the state of Illinois, where the state will cover 50% and the lender covers 50% and the state guarantees a portion of that loan. Well, now the lender's a little bit, less risk averse, and they're more willing to fund you. And so I say all those things to say that even if you don't know much about them, you can go home and now do your homework about how do I leverage these tools, right? And then with banks, it ain't just BMO, Chase. You got institutions called...
Easy on BMO now. Easy on BMO.
Whoever you have.
You can sponsor me if you need
You
to.
have what you call micro lenders, right? Or CDFIs, Community Deposit Financial Institutions. And so I just want to leave y'all with this, that there are folks out there that are trying to provide access to capital to Black and brown and minority-owned enterprises. However, there's certain things that need to be in place. And so I think, start doing research and homework about people that are trying to educate you in your community about these things. But also, too, there's more to come on that, because I think there's a lot around providing that white glove treatment. But those are a couple of things that I would recommend.
What I would say is that we have to invest in our community, not only economically, but also from the social aspect. Because in order for us to repair our communities from an economic standpoint, we have to invest in the education, the mental health, the well-being, how it look. I walk through Yancy's neighborhood picking up trash all the time if I'm walking, because I just don't like trash on the floor. So we have to make sure we have a presence where our communities actually look good and it feels good, because we're not going to get business there. You know, I have many moms that want to open brick and mortars in Inglewood, where we're all from, you know, the best neighborhood in Chicago, shout out the way. So just wondering, you know, sorry, Yancy, I know you're South Shore, but we have many moms that want to open community stores or brick and mortars in their neighborhoods, but they're afraid for safety. They're afraid of different things, or even so, there are a lot of people who are not from our neighborhoods or countries, you know, let's keep it real, who own these properties and had them for 30 years and won't sell it to our communities, and it's just sitting there and it's an eyesore. They don't fix it up or anything like that. So we need to tackle those type of issues so we can really talk about the economic development of our communities. That's something that's a complete miss. And then also, to your point, Jonathan, we have to educate our communities on economics. We don't know anything about money like that. Our grandparents were a part of the mortgage scam of the 90s, so a lot of us lost grandma and them house. You know, some people in Inglewood own homes, but the railroad system owned the land, so they were able to come in and snatch their homes. There are a lot of different things that we have to talk about. So we not only looking at the banking, we have to look at all those different areas. And so that's the way we can really empower.
That's really good. I love how this conversation shifted into like the economic piece. I don't think I've had a lot of conversations about that, but I'm happy for it to shift there. You bring up a good point about investing. I think we all hit on that thing, like investing. So how do we as everyday people focus on investing, right? Because some of us may not have a nonprofit. Some of us may not be wanting to start a small business. Maybe it's been a discussion. And I guess B to that, where do we focus? Do we focus on doing it like city level, state level, or federal? Because I know, Jonathan, you said earlier, you know, city, local, and state has more impact on us. But it's a lot of things happening federally that trickle down statewide. So where do we focus? I know that was two questions, but I'll answer either one.
I'll jump in just to kind of just to kind of add to that. So, and I think it goes to accountability. So, one, I think, you know, what are aldermen in the city accountable for, and what can they actually impact and influence? I think that gets convoluted. What is the county responsible for, and what they can impact and influence? And then what is the state, you know, responsible for, and what they can impact and influence? And I think that it's important to know it's different for what somebody campaigned about doing and what they actually can do.
I think we see that with the federal level for sure.
And so with the federal level, let's answer your question though. Yes, there are federal opportunities, but like I said before, right? An executive order could be caught up in litigation, right?
Sure.
Legislation has to pass Congress and be signed by the president. Judicial action may go through appeals process and all these different things. So again, what you got to think about are what are the federal programs that have always been funded independent of the administration. Community development block grants, those get sent straight to the county, straight to the city, and the state provides, you know, competitive opportunities for downstate communities. The biggest question you should be asking is how are those dollars being allocated? And if I don't know, my Cook County commissioner who gets an apportionment and the city who does as well should be telling me that. Simple, right? And then what are some other, these tax credits, right, that I talked about. Now, the thing about tax credits is they mostly benefit who? Folks who make a lot more money than us. So when you think about, for example, IRA tax credits, right now, yeah, there's a 90-day review on whether they'll approve them, but if you look at them, most of them are going to Republican states. So the chances that they'll go away are slim to none. So I say all that to say that I think understand that intersection and go back to that ETA piece that I gave you earlier.
Okay, Dion, Ariel, 5 seconds apiece. 5 seconds. I know you can do 5 seconds, so you start. 5 seconds, Ariel.
You go
ahead.
Yes, what to say the question again?
We're talking about.
You just threw me on the spot.
Let's give your final words.
So my final words is connect with your aldermen and commissioners and your state senators and representatives, and also go to Springfield and advocate there to get funding, but also be engaged with federal as well, because those dollars go down to state, which come to city, which go to Yancy and his pocketbook and his budget. Thank you.
That's good stuff.
He said not his pocketbook. Sorry, I don't want to give him trouble. His pocketbook. His office pocketbook. Thank you.
That's good stuff. 5 seconds, Dion.
5 seconds. Educate yourselves. Saving is a penny's game, not a dollar's game. And black women are amazing. That's all I'm going to say.
'Cause period. Huge thanks to the unstoppable trio, Dion, Dawson, who's redefining community impact with more flair than a superhero in a hoodie. Jonathan Mcgee providing everyday leadership and making his success equal to those in our community. Ariel, Rainey, whose energy could power an entire city if we let her. Thank you guys for joining tonight.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. No. I lied. We're back. And that's where we'll leave it at tonight, folks. Another chapter in the Great American Experiment. A lot messy, as you can see, a lot chaotic, and a lot to educate ourselves on, as we saw in the theme of this panel today. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the headlines, but let's not lose sight of what truly matters. Educating yourself on the issues, whether you lean left, right, or somewhere in between. Remember that democracy thrives when we engage, when we listen, and when we care just a little bit more than we criticize. So stay informed, stay active, and most importantly, stay hopeful. You've been an amazing audience. Give yourselves a round of applause. And remember, politics only matters because you do. See you next time.